Hey, today I'd like to show you how you can create your first AI agent and automate your daily tasks. Let's dive in.
What is AI agent? AI agent is the system that can perceive, reason, and act autonomously to achieve a goal. It may use machine learning, natural language processing, automation techniques, or nowadays large language models to interact with the environment, users, or other software. It's like a digital assistant that can take input, process it, make decisions, and take action automatically. And now it becomes very easy with the introduction of the large language models. In the past, what companies relied on is the rule-based systems, where you have to write a lot of code and you have to define a lot of conditions with if, then logic. But nowadays, you don't have to create this complex and messy structure of the if-then conditions. You can use the recent breakthroughs of LLMs and run the agent. In this diagram, I want to show you one of the possible flaws that AI agent can handle. And in this video, I'm going to help you to build this flow from scratch. So the idea is that we have the user who is interested to find out about the AI space, in particular, NVIDIA recent news, the internal reports of NVIDIA, like annual reports, and the NVIDIA stock price. I'm going to use the agent, first of all, to decide what kind of information the user wants, and then present this information to the user. The agent will have access to the number of tools that we will define together. The agent will select the most relevant tool to the user, where the tool itself will process the user prompt and return the answer to the agent. So in this sense, the agent relies on the number of tools that help him to manage tasks automatically. So let's dive into the code. To start with, first of all, we would need to import all the necessary modules here. Once we import, then we need to consider importing our API keys. The first one we would need to have is OpenAI key. For this, you would need to be registered on the OpenAI platform. And as an extra step, we will also need to have the API key for the Tavily. And the Tavily platform allows us to find the most recent information from the internet. So basically, it's like a search engine backed by the LLM. Like you can call it like a Google, which helps us to find the most recent news, any new information, which ChatGPT by default couldn't do, right? So for this, you need to create your API key and then copy your API key and pass this to the environment and then load it. So once you define the API keys, then what we can do next is we can start LangChain Tavily module to help us to find the most recent information using the Tavily API. So it's a wrapper module that helps us to run through the internet via Tavily API. So we have to, first of all, initialize our Tavily search results instance, where we need to define how many results you want to get from the search, the maximum number of results. Let's say we want to return maximum 5. And then we will need to run our search, which is similar to the langchain command to the LLM modules. It's also invoke method to run this Tavily LLM. And then we can ask, for example, what are the recent news about DeepSeek, right? For example. And let's see the results. We were able to retrieve the most recent information, the most recent news about DeepSeek using Tavily API. So this is really nice. And we can use this Tavily API to retrieve any kind of new information from the internet. Okay, so that will be our first tool. The next tool that I would like to include is our RAG that we have built in a previous video. So I'm going to copy and paste the code that I have built before. So basically, with this code, we are able to load our PDF file, the annual report of NVIDIA. We can split it into the pages, then convert pages into the vectors, the numerical representation that will be further used to create a vector space and create our retrieval mechanism that we will further use as an extra tool for our agent. If this is not clear, guys, I would recommend you to watch my previous video because I explained it pretty well there. To use our rec as the tool, we would need to additionally import the following method: the langchain.tools.retriever import create retriever tool, where we need to define our rec tool, which will be create retriever tool. That will refer to the retriever, and our name will be for the rec tool search report search 2024, and the description for the tool will be a search when asked about NVIDIA achievements in 2024 specifically. And again, a description is optional as the name, but this provides the context to the agent further understand when to rely on this tool, when to activate this tool, right? So for this, description is important. So we defined our second tool, the rec tool. And the last one that I want to show you guys is the stock price tool. So for this one, we would need to use the Yahoo Finance module that has the built-in API to access all the prices from Yahoo. So you don't have to register on Yahoo, get APIs, pay anything. It's free, and it's already built inside the Yahoo Finance package. So the only thing you need to do is to just install it in your virtual environment, and you will be able to access it. And as we rely on their custom tool that is not provided by the LangChain, we would need to create our own tool by defining a class. And that's why we need to import the extra methods here. We will rely on the pypdf module to create the class that we will further can use as a tool for our agent. So to define our tool, we would need to give it a name, the base model that we will rely. Then we would need to define our first attribute. So this will be the symbol of the stock, right? And yeah, basically it will be the input for the symbol attribute, which will have the name stock symbol, and will have the description. Again, this will be important for the further LLM to understand this. That's why we give more context via description. And the second variable would be the price, which should be the float variable. And we can give it a name as a title stock price, and the description will be the current price of the stock. Okay, so we defined our class. And what we need to do also, we need to define the function that will be able to run the stock prices for us, right? So we can define a function as the get stock price. Get stock price. Symbol of the string. Then we would need to get the most recent data. So we need to select the one. And we also need to make sure that we catch the error just in case, if the information is not found in Yahoo. And we will need to get the latest price using the data closed fields with the last index. So in this way, we'd be able to get the latest price, and then we can just return What we want to return is the stock price class with the symbol that will be symbol in upper format, and the price will be the latest price. We can also add an extra layer of security by embedding this into the try. And if we have any error, we can raise another error so we can catch it. And now we need to create our tool, our third tool. For this one, we need to import from Langchain tools, import tool. So this method allows us to create custom tools in Langchain. And now we can give it a name, stock tool, and the first one would be the name, which will be the stock price. The next one will be description, and the description would be to get the current stock price of a company. Yeah, by providing the stock symbol. And the function would be the get stock price. Okay, so we have defined our third tool. So now we can finally create our agent by combining these tools, right? We would need to simply create the list and include all of our defined tools. So the first one that we had is search. So that's our first tool to find the new information from the internet. Then we have the rec and we have the stock tool. So now we have defined 3 tools. Well, then we need to define the model. We will use the OpenAI here, which will be GPT 0.5 with the temperature 0. We'll make it logical as possible. So once we load the model, then we can create our first agent, and the command create agent creates the agent for us. Okay, so that's very simple. That's the only command you need to create your agent, where first you would need to define the model that will run the LLM model and the tools that you have, right, in the form of the list. And that's basically enough to define your agent. And now we can test it. We can test our agent. We can, for example, ask our agent, what are the latest news about NVIDIA, right? To test our first tool, the so-called AI news, right? Or any kind of news, not only AI. And as a result, you can see that we asked, what are the latest news about NVIDIA? And what the AI did, processed our request and directed to the table search results. So it works perfectly. The first tool is successful. What about the second one? The second tool was to help us to understand what were achievements of NVIDIA in 2024. It should rely on our rec. And as you can see, it works perfectly. So we asked the agent what are NVIDIA achievements in 2024. And then what the agent did is he directed to their report search tool. And as you remember, the report search tool is the rec. You can see here, it's the name of our rec tool. So it works as well. And you can see that it retrieved the information from the PDF file, from the annual reports file. You can see it here. So if we text business highlights, you can see that it retrieved the achievements of NVIDIA in 2024, which is exactly what we asked for. And let's test it finally for the stock price. So we would ask, what is the latest NVIDIA stock price? And let's see what the agent did. he basically directs to the stock price tool, which is exactly what the agent should have done. And as a result, it retrieved us the NVIDIA stock price, the latest one, which is 120. And if we check this online, it exactly as it is. So it works perfectly as well. And the last thing that I would like to add here is that if you want your agent to remember the history, the conversation, you can explicitly define this by memory saver method. And what you would need to do is, when you define your agent, you would need to add the third argument, which should be the checkpointer called memory. And now, if you run it, you have defined the agent that remembers the conversation. For example, I can say that my name is Artem, right? Okay, it asks about the configuration. So basically, to make sure that it's possible to run, we would need to define the ID for our memory, right? For our conversation. In this case, I would need to define the config, and I would need to specify the ID, okay, which will be the thread ID. Can call it any number I want, any letters I want. And I would need to add this as an extra argument config. And now we can run it. So basically, config is the way to define the conversation ID or session ID. And within this conversation, the agent will remember everything about this conversation. And if it asks what is my name, it should remember. It should remember and tell me the name. Your name is Artem. You see, it works perfectly. And for example, if I change the conversation ID, I would set it to 199. Okay, so it's another config, and I would run again, and I would ask what is my name. I'm sorry, but I don't have access to your personal information. Exactly, because we have reset our config file. So this is the new ID, so I don't remember our conversation. So it's attached to the right ID. Just keep in mind. That's all I wanted to say today. Don't forget to subscribe and like my video, and stay tuned.